Gonna pound Michael Michael right through the floor.
Yeah, that's like nine horses to me.
One's shooting at his property, and other one's bulldozing, oh, Jesus.
God. And before that, we keep yelling at, we tell people they couldn't build new houses, and oh my God, they were the greatest thing. Good old days.
Yes, good thing you're over.
Okay, first order of business is approval minutes of October 23rd, 2014.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 23rd, 2014.
I will second that.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next order of business, appointments. Okay.
It's almost like they're just telling us
Yeah.
this, because they already
Yeah, they're just
reappointed her,
notifying
it's just,
Because we have to send it to a town meeting.
Well, this is when it goes to a town meeting? Okay.
I'll make a motion to send the appointment for the Stafford Public Library Board of Trustees to a town meeting to reappoint Linda Callahan.
Second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next order of business, discuss and possible action with tax collector regarding entering into an agreement with the law firm Pullman Comley LLC for tax sales. And we have Ms. Irving and Pullman.
Thank you. I just would like to say that, I want to apologize again for, not being here at the last selectmen's meeting. There was a miscommunication. I did not realize that, myself and Adam were supposed to be here a couple weeks ago. So, I just want to apologize to the board. And I do have Adam Cohen from Pullman and Conley here tonight to, answer any questions that you guys have about the, contract.
I have questions. First, Steph, what did we do last year? Last year we had the debt collector, we sold them the book. What did we do last year? What was last year? What are we doing differently this year than last year? As opposed to hiring an attorney?
The last time we did a tax sale,
Yes.
yeah, myself and Ed, the town attorney, did a tax sale.
All right, and I'm just confused, how come we're not doing that again? And that was one of the questions I asked before. If we have someone on retainer, and I know Rich said it's like a surgeon, you know, you want your expertise, whatever, but I still, I'm unsure about that. Also, I'm really, there's no payment for the town, that's absolutely correct?
That is correct. The way that it works is that under state law, the debt gets added to the collection costs, and I collect both. I don't send bills to the town. What I'll do is if the town is owed $100, I send a bill for $110. I collect the 110, keep 10, and give 100 to the town. Those are just, random numbers.
Okay, in the contract though, it does say multiple times that we'll receive a monthly invoice.
Right. If you look at the paragraph above that, it says you have to pay the bills that I send you, but it says I'm only going to send you bills in 3 situations. The first one is if the person files bankruptcy and the town wants me to file an appearance in the bankruptcy. If the town says no, then there's no bill. The second one is if the town wants to purchase property at a tax sale, then they pay the cost just like any other bidder.
Absolutely.
And the third time is if the town doesn't follow an instruction of mine, and I say, if you want me to do that, that's fine, but I'll send a bill for it. And an example of that would be if I say, I'm not gonna be able to collect this tax, and you say, put it onto auction anyway, and I'll put that all in writing. I've never sent a bill to a town that they were surprised about. They approve in advance that I'm going to be doing something outside of my usual course, which is to not send a bill.
Okay. And also, just listed here are many different rates. A senior partner versus an associate versus a paralegal. How do we know who is servicing us and what cost? Because it's kind of like there's many different prices here.
Sure. It'll always be me unless I say otherwise. It'll always be me. My rate is $390 an hour. I have an associate, Asaf, who is at $270 an hour. He does legwork on my files, but it's always me or him, and not, it won't go to any other person in my firm.
last week, we got this a day before or the night of, and we were looking to talk to Scott, and again, miscommunication there that we didn't have info to vote on, so we asked for a little more time. It's dated August 13th, and all of a sudden we're trying to hurry it, or it appeared that way, so I'm glad Mr. Cohen had time to get here. From last year, what's the kind of money we make on a tax sale? Because I don't understand, you know.
We don't actually make any money. We just collect the tax and interest that's due the town. We don't make any money on a tax sale. I mean, we get the money that's owed to us, so yes,
Right,
yes,
in
we
my
are
business, people
getting
owe me
money.
money, and I get a collector, the people that haven't paid in a certain amount, and I get a percent of that. We sell a house is when these guys come in, I don't quite have it, what we're doing, if you can overview that for me, maybe.
Maybe
You wanna
that'd
take
be
that?
best for me to
Yeah.
answer. The usual procedure that we'll use is we'll try to send demands and work out payment plans with people first. That's always the first attempt, is to try to get them to pay. Sometimes the debtor doesn't exist, the corporation just doesn't exist anymore, the person is dead. Or other times there are people who say, I'm just walking away, or they just say flat out, I can't pay, I won't pay, and that's the end of it. In those situations, we move to the next step. I usually recommend a tax sale procedure. A tax sale is a non-judicial foreclosure. That means you're foreclosing, but the law says that for taxes you don't have to go to court. It's a much faster and cheaper procedure. Usually that is the best way to collect a delinquent tax. In that case, as a last resort, the town puts the property up for public auction. The proceeds go to paying off the expense of the sale and to recover the taxes to the extent that's available. The law gives them another 6 months after the auction to come up with the money to prevent the sale from going through. It's just a last chance effort to retroactively cancel the sale, and after that, if they haven't, a deed goes to the new owner.
When you said we try to get it so it doesn't go to court, if it does go to court, and then it says, you talked about in here reasonable fees, like the court will determine the reasonable fees of this
There is no court involved in a tax sale.
at all.
Yeah, at all. There is no court involved in a tax sale. The only time a court gets involved in a tax sale is at the end, after the deed is filed. The town is no longer involved, but if there's an excess, in the sense that the property the taxes have been paid in full out of the proceeds of the sale, and there's still money left over because there was an overbid, that money gets deposited with a court, and a court divides up who gets it among the other encumbrances, but the town, by statute, is not a party to that proceeding.
And most of the time on our tax sales, we don't get what is owed on the property.
Yeah, usually the properties that are left at that stage they're not in the best shape, and you're just trying to clean it up and get as much as you can based on the property. The goal, obviously, is not to sell properties, the goal is to get taxes paid. In other towns where I do this, generally speaking, somewhere between 50 and 90% of all the properties that start the auction procedure don't go all the way. At some point, someone pays off the amount. Usually it's a bank that has a mortgage on the property, sometimes it's the debtor.
So it's good for us to have you working for us at whatever price, because we may get 20,000 to 50,000 that we wouldn't have collected, and that sounds like it's well worth it. That's the part I didn't understand when.
I've performed tax collection services for more than a third of all the towns in Connecticut, and my collection rate, where there's any value to the property or any source of income, approaches 100%. The only times where it doesn't is when I look at the file and I can see this property is worthless. You know, it's underwater, it's not buildable, and I'll tell that. That's the first thing I'll say is this isn't going to work, and the town will just say don't bother trying.
No, but can we just go over the billing section again? 'Cause
Sure.
I just, from reading it, it says, the firm will send you a monthly invoice for your services. If there is more than one client, you will each be jointly and several responsible for the payment of our invoices. The firm will charge interest, so-and-so, and also then it says for phone calls, delivery, marshal, tax, that all, we pay nothing.
You pay nothing for that. If you look at the paragraph above that, it says that. It says, we're not going to send you a bill unless, and then it lists out the three things that I said. If we do send you a bill for something like that, like you've asked me to appear in a bankruptcy, then those would apply.
And how often does that happen?
You'd have to approve it.
Yeah, you'd have to approve, you would specifically say, Adam, we want you to appear in the bankruptcy and we're willing to pay your fees on, an hourly rate in order to do that. And I still try to recoup those fees because the bankruptcy laws would still allow me to try to claim them, but you would pay them on a monthly basis. And that would only happen if I told you in advance, either I can't collect on this property, do you wanna pay me to try anyway? And the second one would be, bankruptcy.
So the fees that he's talking about, as far as his fees and would go into what the person would pay.
Now, just say the person's like, all right, I'm gonna pay, I want my property back. They have to pay for your services.
Correct,
Yes.
that's
What
by
if they-
statute.
What if they choose not to? And then the whole thing is back to nothing.
By state law, if a person makes a payment, a partial payment, by law, it must be applied first to collection expenses, then to interest, then to principal on the oldest outstanding tax. That's by state statute. So if a person says, well, I know you sent me a bill for 110, I'm only gonna pay 100, by law, it's gonna go to my fee first.
And I did ask if we had our town attorney look at this. I asked you if we could do that.
No, I didn't. He's here tonight, he can comment.
I haven't seen it.
Well, I would like, I did ask,
Well,
I,
as I explained before, there was bills last year associated that the town, we paid out money above and beyond the retainers for the local attorney to do it. But we're looking at a specialized attorney. We're doing these energy projects. We have a financial attorney that's working on it. We have an energy attorney that's working on it. We're looking at moving some tax foreclosures forward in a different manner than what we did before.
I just feel that anytime we're going into another contract, we have someone on retainer, let's have them look at it to cover our bases. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I haven't seen it, so,
And I don't
I
wanna
mean-
sit here and.
and, I'm not gonna argue one way or the other.
Yeah,
way.
Well, that would be my
We're entitled to
recommendation
hire her.
before I
Yeah, I
so,
think Deidre as a teacher and me as a dentist read this, I read it 3 or 4 times trying to figure out all this, and I wasn't sure who was coming tonight, but it's still a little confusing, and I think it's getting clearer to me. It doesn't look like you lose money paying $385 because,
If you look at this agreement and the verbiage that's in this agreement, it's almost identical verbatim, word for word, in the same agreement we just entered into with Shipman and Goodwin 2 or 3 weeks ago.
and did Ed look at that?
No. Shipman and Goodwin is our counsel that we use for our finances.
Mhm.
in the notes we had here for the minutes, I had just asked, had we put it out to bid, and I didn't see an answer. Did we get an answer that we put it out, and this is the one step?
No.
two, or-
No, it's not, no, it's not put it up to bid. No. And it's actually, I guess I've learned that, it's really a contract that I can sign, because technically, I am the one that has the authority to hold a tax sale. But we're obviously, I wanna work with everyone to, do this correctly.
I agree 100%, and that's why I'm gonna go back to my statement that I need someone, our town attorney, I prefer he look at it. So, you guys
It's,
make a motion, do what
it's
you
not,
want.
it's not an expense to the town. These fees are collected from, so as far as the bidding, it's not an expense, so it's, from that perspective, I'm not sure if that means.
Just if I can ask Steph, I think we talked, and this is your choice, to use these guys.
Yes,
And this letter came back explaining that once you found them, and he's worked with a lot of people, you're pleased with their past results.
he's worked with, Richard, I gave you a list of all the towns in Connecticut. Yeah, it should have been sent to you, emailed
It's
to you.
not sent to me, I just have the
I think
contract.
it was in the email that was sent to you that she CC'd me on.
I just got
It
it,
was a very lengthy list.
I never got it. I only got the email saying you were inviting him to come November 13th, and is that okay with Rich? That's the last email I got from you.
Okay, I'm not sure why you didn't get the
Did you
others,
get it?
because Rich got it.
I may have an extra copy.
All right, but Neil, did you get an email saying all the lists?
again, it could be there, but I haven't opened it,
All right,
so.
so,
I have an
it's
extra
just me
copy.
I'd love
not
to see
seeing
it.
emails much. But yes, I think we're going in the right direction, if you can just answer those few questions for us. And I did like to hear if Ed had looked at it, and I would have appreciated that part, that our legal counsel looked at the fine tuning here.
yes, thank you.
That's how I sent it to Stephanie, I'm not
That's
sure
fine. No, I
how
didn't
it
get
looked
this
when
at
it
all.
came to you.
I think as a board, I think that we, with all due respect to Attorney Muska, I'm trying to keep Attorney Muska out of, potential conflict of interest or perceived conflict. You want me to give a contract that's taking business away from him to say, here, you review this. And with all due respect, I wouldn't expect anything but professionalism from him, but we're a board that needs to make a decision. And you're asking, and like I said, with all due respect, I would expect nothing but professionalism, but you're a dentist. That's like asking another dentist to look at work you just did.
Yeah, and I'm all for that, second opinions with everything, but my question is, down the road, somewhere here, we're gonna read one of these resolutions where there's a lawyer that's gonna represent us and the people we're going against. And they're telling us, just make sure you know everything before you sign this, and we're gonna do that, number 8 or something here.
And it's with shipping,
So,
shipping it.
right, so why don't we ask you just to look it over and say,
I've had town attorneys from many other
Yeah,
towns,
I
look,
mean,
I have no problem with that.
Right, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I've spoken with other,
Yeah.
Table it again, I'll give this to Attorney
well, I mean, you guys
Muska,
can
ask him for it.
bring it to the table.
think I'm okay with it, with Steph's opinion, to move it ahead. I just would appreciate, Ed's opinion, and I don't think he needs to step in because he hasn't read it, so,
I wouldn't expect
I don't think I need to table it.
You do?
I don't think I have.
Okay, then make a motion.
So, I will make a motion to accept, Adam Cohen's, company as Pullman Attorneys,
Pullman and Conley.
okay, as the, representative for our tax collector.
I am gonna vote no.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay.
Okay, next order of business is award contract to
Small cities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lead paint testing services and authorize for selectmen to enter into a contract with them. This is for
Yeah.
the Small Cities Program with a letter from Peter
Peter.
recommending that we enter into a contract with
Okay.
EnviroClean to conduct lead paint testing. And
He did get
an
4.
RFP was issued by the program. It was in September. He's asking the board of selectmen to approve the contract and award environmental plan LLC for an amount not to exceed $15,000 to authorize the first selectman to sign a contract for agreement for such following the approval, and the funds are available in the small city grant funding to pay for that. They sent out an RFP in September.
So out of the 4 companies, EnviroPlane's the one that he suggests is the best.
Yeah, it was bought, in September, the program prepared and issued a request for proposals for these services with an October 20th submission deadline. This RFP was sent directly to numerous firms licensed by the Connecticut Department of Public Health. The contract opportunity was also advertised and posted on the state's DAS website. The program received 4 proposals: Boston Lead Company from Middletown, Environmental Plan from West Hartford, Freeman Companies from Hartford, and Safe Homes from Waterbury.
It just says they received 4 proposals, and down here it says all 3 firms are well qualified. Was there one that dropped out or anything, or it's just
It could be a typographical error.
typical? Okay. what they like enviro plan, and the under 15,000 was the
Correct.
stipulation.
Not to exceed 15,000. Some of the programs and some of the rehabs that they do, they have to have an environmental company come in and do a lead assessment on the property.
Good stuff.
I'll make a motion to award the contract to EnviroPlan for the lead paint testing.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next order of business, authorize the first selectman to sign a waiver of conflict with Shipman and Goodwin. Shipman and Goodwin, who is our financial advisor, attorney, and has been for years, has a conflict of interest on a property that we have foreclosed on, or in the process of foreclosing on. The matter is the town of Stafford versus Cole, docket number whatever, currently pending in Connecticut Superior Court in Rockville. The case is a foreclosure matter which the town is the plaintiff and S&ET is one of the defendants. There's phone bills owed on the property evidently, and S&ET has Shipman and Goodwin representing them in their interest, and Shipman and Goodwin also represents the town in other matters. So Bruce brought this to my attention, that they had a conflict. Do you wanna see what Bruce?
I'm aware of this, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know, they entered an appearance on behalf of the lien holder.
Correct.
I didn't put the two together, but in any event, it's a lien that's gonna be foreclosed, they're not gonna get any money out of the property anyway, so
Correct.
it's really a minor issue.
But they have to,
They have
Right,
to
they
they
have
have
to-
an appearance for
they
the
have to
phone company on that.
do it for the phone company, and then they also have to notify us of that waiver, of the
Right,
conflict.
I don't see any problem with them representing the town on this, on your background, no matter what,
I'll make a motion, that you can sign the waiver, Rich.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No,
All in favor?
I.
Next order of business. Tax appeal settlement from American Woolen Company.
I don't know if you wanna go into executive session and discuss this, it does involve settlement of any litigation, so.
Sure, cause I didn't really understand a lot of this, so.
It's probably a good idea then, because
Yeah.
there's a lot to discuss here then.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
And if Tammy could sit through the, she's here somewhere. Yes, if she could sit in the executive session, that'd be helpful.
Sorry.
Okay,
Okay, I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cameras off and
Do I have to do anything? Or I can just make?
Well, you get it all good.
I will make a motion that,
Remember
to
bad
give Ed
overall,
permission to
is it?
sign into a stipulation for this case.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Should we, for the members of the audience that are in attendance, should we fill them in on the reason why we have this stipulated judgment?
If they care, sure.
Of course we can.
That's, I'm
Hey,
yeah,
right.
I'm gonna ask you to fill me in on.
Oh, sure, okay. Basically, this involves an appeal by the Warren Corporation of the taxes on their property, the Warren Mill property, which is recently sold to American Woolen Company. And they, the town had valued the property in the 2011 revalues being worth $4,600,000. The person who bought the property paid $3 million for it, so he obviously felt that the $4.6 million was too high for tax figures on the property. And they took an appeal to the court on that. We hired a professional appraiser, a commercial appraiser working for us, who indicated that he thought the property would probably be valued at $3.8 million if you did full appraisals on it. So we went to court, we had a discussion with a judge who pre-tries these cases, who recommended a figure of $3.7 million, which Warren Corporation or American Woolen Company agreed to accept. So basically, the board has just agreed to that settlement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
And I'm going home.
You can't leave.
I can leave. See, I don't have all the responsibilities you got, Mark, so.
Well, yeah, but there may be many questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, table issue discussion and possible action on the Stafford's solar geothermal project. There's still two issues on that up in the air for the Board of Selectmen. One is the financing and one was formally choosing Trison as the geothermal contractor. We went through the RFP process. They were vetted by Martha Kleina, the Energy Committee, and Dennis Milanovich, the town engineer. And Dennis actually had written me an email this afternoon following the RFP process for the geothermal design build firm conducted by Martha Kleina. I am recommending that the town enter into a contract with Trison Industries for the design and construction of the heating and cooling system at the Stafford High School, middle school, elementary school, and library. And Trison is actually the gentleman that were talking about the heating systems at the last couple, or at the.
Man from Dallas, that was the
Yeah,
toll
gentleman
land.
from- Yep, they went to toll land, yep.
Rich and I grew up in toll land, we had to correct from there, but yes.
All my family from down south calls it toll land too.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Oh,
Town of Poland.
At the presentation, the gentleman from Trison
oh, what
referred
are you
to
guys talking about?
town as toll land.
Oh, okay.
It's a southern thing. My family does it.
Looks like we make a motion on that one.
Yes.
Scott, or was it two things?
The other thing was, the finalize the financing and choose who we're going with on the financing, and we haven't completed negotiations to
Yeah.
make sure that we get the best rate. We're at 2.71%, and we're trying to get better. If we can make them compete against each other, hopefully get a little bit better.
So right now, we're looking for Trison to be
Yep.
named. All right, I'll make a motion to accept Trison as our geothermal provider for the 17 million project that we approved last night.
Second.
Further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye. Yes. Next is the adopt the resolution to join the CROG. Oh, wait, no, let me jump up on that. Resolution adopting the 2014 Capital Region Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan update. Each town is responsible to do a natural hazard mitigation plan. I believe it started 2009, I think, when the law was created, that each town had to have a natural mitigation plan. We started working on ours, Frank Prohaska, our emergency management director, and myself, when I was in zoning, we started working on ours back in late 2009, 2010. I actually had contacted CROG for some assistance on it, and at that time, they said, "What are you doing? Why don't we just do it for you?" That's one benefit of being in CROG. Instead of the town doing an individual one, CROG has done a regional one, and each town is in that regional, and they each have their own. So once you have that, and actually that whole overview is just the Stafford section of the regional plan. So the resolution here is actually the resolution as formatted by FEMA to adopt the resolution. Each town has to adopt their own separate town resolution on the plan.
somewhere in here, we do our own private one tonight, and then the whole thing has to get approved by 75% of them?
Yes.
They said the biggest town has to approve it, is that population or land? Did you look into that, or is it too picky a question
Yeah,
right now?
I don't have a clarification on that.
Yeah, it just seemed weird that one town would have the power to say no, but just take care of ourselves tonight sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think is, from the meetings that I've been at with CROG on these, I think everybody, they've been working on this since 2010,
Mhm.
and everybody has come together. I've been in the chain emails and everything else
Okay.
with 33 other towns, and I think they're all chomping at the bit to move this forward. Once this is in place, it actually is nice, it helps you score higher on certain grants, it helps you in eligibility for other funding.
Looks good.
I'll
That's nice.
I'll make a motion to adopt the Capital Region Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan update.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
And this is the plan, like the objections, like it's like a teacher thing.
Objectives? Yeah.
Objectives, say it again?
Yep, objectives.
And then their action plans, what they're gonna do.
Yep.
What if just say we decide we need to add something else, can we go back and do
We
that?
can go back to CROG and CROG would go to FEMA to request a
And
change.
just say, I mean, okay.
Any further discussion?
Yeah. I already made a motion.
Do you want me to read the resolution?
If you want to.
I don't want to read the resolution.
Okay.
I'll read the resolution so that the public has it. Whereas the town of Stafford Board of Selectmen recognizes the threats that natural hazards pose to property and the property to the town of Stafford, and whereas the town of Stafford, in collaboration with the Capital Region Council of Governments, has prepared a multi-hazard mitigation plan known as the 2014-19 Capital Region Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Update in accordance with the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000, and whereas the 2014-19 Capital Region Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Update has identified mitigation goals and actions to reduce or eliminate long-term risk to people and property from the impacts of future natural hazard and disasters that affect the town of Stafford and the region, and whereas public and committee meetings were held on March 15th, October 2nd, March 15th, 2012, October 2nd, 2013, regarding the development and review of the 2014-19 Capital Region Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Update, and whereas the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Department of Homeland Security, has approved the 2014 through 19 Capital Region Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Update on condition of local adoption, enabling the town of Stafford to apply for hazard mitigation grant funding, and whereas adoption by the town of Stafford Board of Selectmen demonstrates their commitment to achieving the hazard mitigation goals outlined in the town of Stafford section of the 2014-19 Capital Region Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Update. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Stafford Board of Selectmen hereby adopts the 2014-19 Capital Region Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Update.
Well done.
Thank you.
It'll be a test. We'll make another one.
Let's, okay, so we had a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Okay, now we have another one. I wrote a note.
Adopt a resolution to join the CROG MPO Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Basically, we're already a member of CROG, and now we just have to do another resolution to be a member of their subcommittee thing?
Metropolitan Planning Organizations.
It's like
Yes.
transportation stuff.
Yes, and it's one of those organizations that's been created by statute by the state of Connecticut, for funding purposes, that funds will run through this planning organization, because the state of Connecticut applies for funds from the federal government, the state gets the funds at the state level, then the state is delegating these funds, instead of giving funds directly to towns, they're changing the way that they're doing some of the funding, and it's going through the planning organizations and the CROGs.
And our membership to CROG, we don't have to pay anything additional for
No.
this. I will make a motion that you can, sign this agreement as well. If you'd like to read it, you can.
You can read this one. Do we have a motion to waive the reading?
I do.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading. Does anybody wanna read it? If you want it read, we can read it. I mean, it's just more.
Hearing no objections. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, request to waive the bidding ordinance of fire alarm upgrades. We have a letter from Bruce Davis, facility supervisor. Dear Mr. Shuck, attached is a proposal for the fire alarm upgrades to the Stafford Community Center. I am requesting that ordinance 11-5, the bidding and purchasing policy be waived for this project. We contracted with Performance Consultants Incorporated in the past. The police department and the transfer station were both engineered by Mr. Pucci, and a good working relationship with him has been established. If you have any questions or require further information, please let me know. I would be happy to discuss this project with you. The actual contract was for $2,955. It's below the typical 5,000 we think of, but because it's for services, Bruce has asked that it be waived. Mr. Pucci did the system at the police department for us. Actually, he did that system at the police department for us at no cost. He didn't charge us to do that. He did the fire system at the transfer station as a subcontractor for,
Then before or after the fire?
after.
Because it was before, then he could make mistake.
And part of Bruce's request in here is that
2 points for deviant.
he's familiar with our components that we use in our systems, these components with what's there, so that he's gonna design a system that matches what we already have, so we don't have to duplicate spare components on hand for those systems.
I'm not a big fan of going against the bidding process, because I just think that's really important. And I kinda think this might set a precedent for other people to come and say, can we just waive the bidding process? You know, this came to us November sixth, instead if we just put the bidding process in November sixth and gave them 2 weeks, we would have had some bids by then, and hopefully it would have been 2,900. I don't know, that's my opinion, for what it's worth.
Yeah, that scares me just a bit. I do think Bruce's opinion I highly value, and my one
Absolutely.
question is just this hourly that they can charge. That's, didn't charge us and he gave us something for free before.
Correct.
And it's not like he's gonna be traveling all over to get one system in there.
Can we go back and tell Bruce to put out the bid?
I don't know, I mean, do you agree, do you not agree? I just think that's kind of, that's what we do, so I'm not sure why we don't continue the plan that we have.
Did this get attached in here in ways we can waive the bidding process? Or was that?
The contract is, like, the bidding, all that
Yeah, we.
contract is
this
with it,
us,
so,
Or this was part of?
no, that's
Yeah,
ours.
I put them.
Put that in
So we could
for-
read it, cause
Yeah.
it is actually waiving something that we have
Right.
in our plan.
We're supposed to try to obtain 3 for quotation.
So I'd rather just go with the plan myself, but, and hopefully it's still this guy, and even if this guy's a tiny bit more, then we say we have the relationship with him, but at least we follow the protocol.
Yeah, it's definitely going for best value, and he may be, but I don't think I agree with Deidre Ann that we don't wanna start this, because once we do one, the next one is why wasn't it high in there, and again, I think we will have,
Absolutely, I mean, hopefully it's gonna be the same thing, but I just don't wanna be unfair to other people.
our building will not be in fire trouble short term. We're in good shape right now. And it's coming our way.
Well, the problem is, it's the system at the community center is two separate fire systems, that are in the building. One box, and maybe Alex could explain it a little better, but one box is failing.
Mhm.
They're two totally different systems. What they wanna do is pull the good box,
To make it work. for the
relocate it, and then redo the entire system so it runs through that one box. Because currently there's two separate systems,
And
one
you
for
can never
the,
tell which one, because it triggers the other one is,
So you
if
never
one goes
know.
off, it triggers the other. You have no idea when you go there, you're both on the teen center side and senior center, I had
2-3 hours trying to figure out
which detector's bad.
which detector's bad, yeah. At 4 in the morning, that's not fun.
Yeah, just the one thing I circled is in overriding public interest, it's essential to protect the public interest. Are we under the assumption that we have a little time to get this right, or are we,
I would
something
think
could
so.
catch on fire
It's
tomorrow?
been like this for years, so.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion to send it to bids, or we just don't act on it?
We can just not act on it. I'll go back to Bruce and ask him to get other bids.
Thank you.
So playing by the rules as I read them. And that should work out right.
Public comment. Big audience tonight. Do we have any public comment? We'll get to that.
Oh.
Sorry. Okay.
Next, information items. I don't think there's anything been happening, any updates. You guys are both,
Last night?
you guys are both up to speed on last night's meeting.
Can I ask our SCAC guy here? I remember November 12th or 13th as a day we had to have the carport done. Where are we?
Charging station.
Charging station.
Yeah,
The charging station
done.
is done.
it's out
Right?
there. Did
So
you
that's
see it
for
when
the
you walked
electric
in?
cars.
Yeah, there were a couple kids just
What's the
playing
thing
with
I
it about
said?
2 minutes ago.
Tell me you're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
It was actually
Someone jumped in 2
used
minutes
last
Kids
night.
were playing with it.
A
Oh,
car was plugged
God.
into it last night for a little
That's
while.
good.
All right, so that's the charging station by November 12th or 13th.
14th.
Is done. Okay, and the carport's something
Someday,
different. Okay,
someday, and then it gets moved under the carport.
Yeah,
very
but it
good.
had to be up and operational, so we got the grants, on or before the 14th, and it was, what, yesterday?
There we go. Okay, good work again. Thank you.
Very good. Old business,
I had one 5 years ago.
new business. Mr. Moore is here. I would like to be voted on to the agenda to speak about the Stafford Ambulance Association.
I'll make a motion to go on to the agenda.
I'll second that.
It's really which Mr. Moore?
Alex.
No.
Looking one.
What?
Better looking one.
Oh, my.
Whoa.
Look.
Oh, what time do you wanna go out tonight?
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been talking with Rich, we had an ambulance that, went in for some repairs, and they found a bunch of cracks in the frame, therefore can no longer use the truck. It's our oldest truck, it's 2003 with just about 130,000 miles on it. I have that's the numbers and what we've spent on expenses in the last 2 years.
On this one?
Just, yeah, over $8,000 in 2 years just on one truck. The truck went from being our busiest to our, we use it more now just as our standby vehicle. We still do all the events at Stafford Motor Speedway, the high school, Sun Valley, everything else. The plan for the truck was to put a new chassis under it, which is about $80,000 to $90,000 cheaper than buying a new ambulance. The new ambulance, the identical one that we bought a couple of years ago, is just about $200,000. So we need to try to move forward to put a new cabin chassis under this one. So that's why I'm here tonight, to start the ball rolling. Without having the third truck, we lose upward of $30,000 to $40,000 of revenue, because we can't do our standbys, can't do the speedway. Excuse me. if we can't do the speedway, excuse me, you know, the speedway pays for half, wow, half of the payment for Ingalls 747, which is our new truck. So, the one vendor that we have that's here that does remounts, the only one in the state that we've found so far, that'll do it with the box that we have on it, is just about $119,000 to do it. Here's their price list and all of that great happy stuff.
How much did you say the new one would cost?
200,000?
I don't know a whole lot about cars, but we're gonna throw $119,000 into something that has that many miles, is that?
It's gonna be a new truck under it. They take the box
Oh,
off of
all
ours.
the stuff is like, it's like
It'll
rebuilt
be a
engine
brand-
and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, it'll be a brand new
cabin chassis.
cabin chassis.
And they'll take the box, they'll take the ambulance part that you ride in off of that old truck and put it on a new
Oh,
Not
truck.
a new truck.
Okay, so it's like, then it'll be like,
Brand new.
alright,
Get another 10 or 12 years out
Okay.
of it. This was the plan for it all along, was at some point we were gonna have to recab the chassis, that's why we buy the boxes that we did,
oh, I see.
so that it can be done.
Is 2003 box,
Yep.
got everything you want modern?
Yes.
All the
They make,
jumper cables and everything?
Yeah, it's gonna go before finance and tour county.
everything in the back they'll look like it's brand new when it comes back. They refurb everything on the inside, outside, everything's repainted. It'll look like it's identical to the new truck that we got a couple years ago. The nice part is it'll go back under, have something with a warranty on it, so.
The 119 you have on here, that's just,
That is out the door completed.
that's not the chassis though.
That is not the chassis. The 38,000 was the chassis itself. 119 was the complete, which we've already put, then we had to put a deposit on the chassis, so that we didn't lose it.
So the 38 that's on the first page is that chassis number?
Yes,
38,668.
yes, and that is added into the 119.
So it's 119 total.
The 119 total, but we've already put a $3,000 deposit from the insurance money into it, on it. So it would be 116 and change.
How do we pay for this? Do we pay for this something special? What do we have to do?
Well, what we're gonna have to do, and this has happened relatively quickly.
Right.
What we're gonna have to do is either look at possibly a lease purchase on it, or ask the Board of Finance to appropriate the funds from the general fund. There is, and I don't have a specific number right now, but there is
Does anybody else want a copy?
excess revenues from last year from the ambulance. And then there'll be projected excess revenues this year that'll help offset. And the idea of, when we set it up with their excess revenues to go towards emergency services, was for stuff like this, but we weren't thinking it was gonna be so quick.
Yeah, like I said, without having the third truck, since we have got the third truck, our call volumes increased to the point where all three ambulances are out on the road on a regular basis now, so not having that, we have to call mutual aid, money goes to somebody else.
The Speedway still pays 10,000 a year?
Yes, and
Or your services on Friday,
10,000 just towards the
the lease?
lease on the other
Then there
ambulance,
was
then
one.
they pay us a weekly for what
Okay.
we're there,
Gotcha.
which covers,
Okay.
Which goes
You wanna
back
keep
into
all
the-
that, right.
which comes back here to the budget.
Okay.
And one thing I don't think the general public realizes, is like Friday nights during the summer, we have the races, but we also have football. And we are required to have an ambulance at the high school football games. So what happens is, we have one sitting at the football game at the high school that we're required by law or the organization to have there. And we have one sitting at the Speedway that's actually making the association money. And the second one, the spare one,
Third
Third
one's out
one.
running calls.
is out running calls. And with two ambulances, the size of the town, the other day I was watching my phone, I get the calls and, they had all three of our ambulances was out, and a fourth call came in, I'm thinking to myself, well, Woolen's gonna be coming in. you know, and that was within like a 15-minute period, it was
You know,
400 minutes.
Today was the same thing, today they've done 7 or 8 calls since 6 AM, so it's definitely not slowing down any.
It's busy. So, what we need to do is,
Make a motion to send this to the Board of Finance
Board of Finance and,
and the town meeting to appropriate the funds. I'll make that motion.
in the meantime, I'll work with Lisa Baxter on the financial end of it, to find out what our best option is, if we should look at a lease or.
Or just pay for it if we can.
Right, there's funds, there is some excess funds from last year, there's gonna be a projection for excess funds from this year, to see how much we can pay it off.
That's a good idea, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So she made a motion, you?
I did, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Second that, yeah.
Any further discussion? All in
No.
favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you guys.
John.